Hello, everybody in YouTube, and welcome to the very first episode of Poke Scythe Games. Today, I thought I would do something that I haven't really done before with any of my other channels, and that's bring a deck review video. The deck I will be reviewing today has been named Washout in Japan. It's a very competitive deck that has won a lot of tournaments in Japan post the English release of the Sword and Shield base set. But for the English meta, I thought I would rename this deck to Whitewash, simply because of the fact that two of the star Pokemon in this deck are ice types or would be ice types in the video games. Those being Lapras VMAX and Frosmoth. So, the first card I would like to talk to you about is one of the main stars, Frosmoth, who will get his honorary debut February 7th when the Sword and Shield base set releases here in the States. He won't be legal to use until February 22nd when the set becomes tournament legal. But because he is a key part of this deck, and the combo that goes along with it, I thought I'd address him first. Frosmoth has an ability called Rain Dance. It's been in the TCG since the very foundations of the game with the original base set and Blastoise. What it does essentially is allows you to, as many times as you like during your turn before your attack, you can take any number of water energy from your hand and move them to your benched Pokemon in any way you like. Alright, so Frosmoth is a stage 1 Pokemon. Evolves from Snom, S-N-O-M, who looks like a little icicle grub would be the best way to describe it. The Frosmoth pairs well with another Pokemon from a previous set, and this is the next card I want to address, is the Quagsire from Dragon Majesty. This Quagsire has an ability called Washout, which is why the deck was named Washout in Japan. Washout allows you, as often as you like before your attack, to move as many water energy as you like from your benched Pokemon up to your active. So you can see how Frosmoth and Quagsire would get along so well. The combo of them in a strictly water deck could be devastating in the early game, which is also why this deck takes advantage of the new release of the V and V Max cards. And the true star of this deck is none other than Lapras V and Lapras V Max. The only image, unfortunately, that I could find for Lapras is in Japanese, and I don't read Japanese, so I can't really tell you what it does. However, I have seen the English rendition of Lapras V Max, and its attack, G Max Pump, does a base damage of, hold on a second, let me pull up my reference picture here real quick. My computer's kind of cruddy, so it'll take a second to load up. This image is also in Japan. It is the only image I could find of it off of Google image search. But if it will load, please hurry. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Lapras VMAX's G-Max Pump does a base damage of 90 plus 30 for each water energy attached to it. So with the combination of Frosmoth, Quagsire, and Lapras VMAX, you have the potential to do a lot of damage very early in the game, which is devastating to your opponent's strategy if they're not using a deck that's just as fast as yours. The next Pokemon in this deck that I would like to talk about, if I can find his base thing, yeah, here we go, is Palkia GX, the water type of it, not the dragon type. I forget which set it's from, but the Zero Vanish GX attack, that's Zero Vanish GX, does a base damage of 150, and hold on a second, I need to zoom in. I can see and read what this does. Yeah, okay, here we go. Zero Vanish GX. Shuffle all energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon into their deck. You can see how this might be devastating late game. Give your opponent some room to breathe, let him get comfortable, and then hit him with this. Basically resetting his entire game and devastating his strategy. His or her strategy. Sorry, I don't mean to be sexist. Palkia GX is devastating. It's been in a lot of winning water decks over the years since its release. Its hydro pressure attack, 60 plus. This attack does 20 more damage times the amount of water energy attached to this Pokemon. Again, like Lapras VMAX, the base damage is a little lower and the additional is a little lower, but it's still essentially the same kind of concept. And then spatial control for 1 water. Move any number of energy from your benched Pokemon to this Pokemon. So if you don't have your Quagsire on the board and you can get at least 1 water energy attached to him in the active, you can use that attack, move all your energy from your benched Pokemon up to him, and then on the next turn, hit with Hydro Pressure, the 60 plus, and then an additional 20 for each water energy attached. So you can see how this would be particularly devastating late game. Okay, so we've covered early game and late game win con strategies. Now I would like to talk about some of the other Pokemon that are in here specifically because of their abilities and what they do. The Jirachi from, I believe it's Team Up, Steel type, ability Stellar Wish. Here we go. Okay, Stellar Wish. Once during your turn, before your attack, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal a trainer card defined there, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle the other cards back into your deck, and this Pokemon is now asleep. This Pokemon will never see the active zone, and it never should. The same goes for Frosmoth and Quagsire. You want to keep them on the bench, specifically to use for their abilities. They will never attack. So, in essence, Jirachi basically acts as a trainer search. It's a method to fish out whatever trainer card you want that best fits a scenario at the time. And as another plus, you don't lose any other of the cards. So, well, I shouldn't say really any trainer you want, but it's whatever trainer you find in the top 5 cards of your deck. I'm trying not to lead anybody with misinformation. This is the first time I've made a video like this, so I'm bound to make a few mistakes. So try to bear with me, if you will. The next one is Ditto Prism Star. If this one is used in the eventuality that you're unable to find a Wooper or a Snom in your opening hand. If he's in your opening hand and none of the other two are, you can evolve your Quagsire or Frosmoth from him. Sorry, this is taking a while. Ditto Prism Star's ability is called Almighty Evolution, and it does exactly what I said it does. From your bench, if you don't have your Wooper or your Snom on your bench to evolve up to your Quagsire or Frosmoth, you can use him as a substitution for it. And I'm just going to never mind about the image. The next card is actually an attacker, and it is, as soon as I can find the image for it, Volcanion Prism Star. Blow this up some. Here we go. Okay. Volcanion Prism Star's ability, Jet Geyser. Once during your turn before your attack, you may discard a water energy from your hand. If you do, your opponent switches their active Pokemon with one of their benched. And then the ability Sauna Blast. 3 water energy, 100 base damage. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance for benched Pokemon. So he actually is one of your attackers. He will see the active slot in a pinch. He won't always get there. You won't always need him, but he's a good fill-in to have in the background. And then last but not least, the Dene GX. I know what you're probably thinking, an electric type Pokemon and a water type deck. Well, that's just it. You're not attacking with him. He is here specifically for his ability, just like so many others with this deck. And his ability, Day Change. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Data Change. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, during your turn, you may discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You can't use more than one Data Change ability each turn. Basically, if you have him out and you don't like your hand, you can use his ability to discard that hand and draw a fresh hand of 6. Now, you don't want to do that too often since the cap on a Pokemon card deck is 60 cards, and depending on when you do this, it could actually force you to deck out and lose. So you want to be very careful when you use this. But it is very, very handy. And now we will be moving on to the trainer cards in the deck. And the first one is Professor's Research, or Professor Magnolia, from the new Sword and Shield set. Let's see if I can find it. Sorry, I'm looking up at my TV screen. I'm using it as a monitor for this because of its size. And this is my first attempt at a video like this, as I stated before. Well, anyway, Professor's Research, discard your hand and draw 7 cards. It's pretty self-explanatory. This will be replacing cards such as Professor Sycamore, Professor Elm, some of the other professors from the past. So it helps in a pinch. The next one is Mallow and Lana. That is from the Cosmic Eclipse set. Let's load this one up. Okay, primarily you will use this card with your Lapras VMAX in order to restore some of its health and keep it alive. Mallow and Lana is a tag team trainer card, a type that was first introduced in Cosmic Eclipse and will never be continued again. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. When you play this card, you may discard 2 other cards from your hand. If you do, heal 120 damage from the Pokemon you move to your bench. So you can use this card late game to move your Lapras VMAX out of the active and back to the bench, and healing 120 damage from it when you do so, swapping it with Palkia GX at the same time to finish the game off and just wreck your opponent. The next one is Misty. That'd be Marnie, actually. I know this computer takes forever to load images. I'm really sorry about that. Okay, here we go. We zoom in on it so I can read it. Whoop. Okay. Marnie. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck. If either player put any cards on the bottom of their deck in this way, you draw 5 cards and your opponent draws 4 cards. So you can see how that could really help out against a number of different decks. Essentially what it's saying is that if you feel your opponent has a game-winning hand, you can use this to mess them up by forcing them to shuffle it and place it back on the bottom of their deck so they can't have it to use against you, turning the tide back in your favor. The next one is Misty and Lorelei. Now, I was wondering about this one until I got a real good look at it myself. Some of the Cosmic Eclipse cards I'm not entirely familiar with, so yeah, I had to look this one up to see what it did, to figure out why it was in this deck. And I was pleasantly surprised at how fluidly it went with it. Misty and Lorelei is another team-up trainer card, also from Cosmic Eclipse. Search your deck for up to 3 water energy cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. When you play this card, you may discard 5 other cards from your hand. If you do during this turn, your water Pokemon can use their GX attacks even if you have used your GX attack. So in essence, if you used Palkia GX's Zero Vanish GX attack to remove all your opponent's energy off of all their Pokemon, and they manage to build it back up, you can play this, and it will allow you to use Zero Vanish again, thus messing up their strategy, potentially giving you the win, is basically what it does. And with Snom and Frosmoth and Quagsire, it also helps by fueling your hand with water energies that you can throw onto your benched Pokemon and then move them up to your active with Quagsire. Next is Energy Retrieval. That's pretty self-explanatory. When you play it, you get to search your discard pile for 2 energies and add them to your hand. So we can all see how that one works. Ordinary Rod. Now this one is also a new one. Comes out with, if I can find it, where did it go? Right here. Also comes out in Sword and Shield base set. And is, it's a very good card for this particular deck. As soon as the image loads, I can read it. Here we go. Ordinary Rod. Choose one or both. First option, shuffle up to 2 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. That can be Frosmoth, or Quagsire, or even a Lapras V and a Lapras V Max, if they get taken out. Shuffle up to 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. Seeing as how much energy this deck actually uses, that's a very good thing. Or you can do both, which I really love. Shuffle your Pokemon and your energies back into your deck. That I really love. And next, I believe, is, yes, Reset Stamp. Now, I'm not sure there has been some talk or I've heard rumors that reset stamp is banned in the standard format. If it is, then apparently Japan doesn't know that because they're using it in this deck. Your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck and draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. That, just like, what was it, Marnie, can be particularly devastating when you choose to use it and if you use it in the right way. Following up with that is Vitality Band. Vitality Band also will make its debut in the Sword and Shield base set. My icons are very tiny and my glasses blow, so please bear with me. Unfortunately, it looks like the only stock image I have for Vitality Band is in Japanese, and I can't read Japanese. So, moving on, unfortunately, we're on to Escape Board. If you've been playing the TCG for a while, you know what this does. But for the newcomers to the game who are preparing to enter into their first tournaments or just starting their collections, I will read this rather quickly. Okay. Escape Board. Yeah, that's good. Okay. The retreat cost for the Pokemon this card is attached to is one colorless energy less, and it can retreat even if it's asleep or paralyzed. So that comes in handy, especially with Tapu Koko V going to be entering into the format, as well as more Pico V and V Max. Paralysis will be a thing in the future meta. I want everybody to know that. So Escape Board will be very, very handy in some very critical situations. Next is Evolution Incense. This is yet again another card making its debut in Sword and Shield. I hope this isn't a Japanese image, so I can actually read you what it does. It is a Japanese image, my apologies. So, next is Switch. Okay, we all... Oh, no, Great Catcher. Sorry. That's my bad. Can't be skipping over cards, that's not good. Great Catcher. You can play this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand. Switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon GX or Pokemon EX with their active Pokemon. So, let's say you're going against more... no, that wouldn't work. Okay, let's say your opponent is playing an electric deck, and they have Dedenne GX on their active zone. You can use this to swap it out with a different GX from their benched area that doesn't have any energy on it and would take a while for them to build up to be able to either retreat it or attack with it. The next one is Switch. Switch simply allows you to switch out your active Pokemon with one from your bench. Again, handy if you're trying to keep your Lapras VMAX alive, or your Palkia GX alive because there's only one copy out in the deck. The next one is Pokegear 3.0. This is another one making its debut in Sword and Shield. Sorry, I'm going to have to lean in a little bit for this one. Pokegear 3.0, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You may reveal a supporter card you find there and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So, like Marnie and another one from this list, which was it? Reset Stamp. It is really handy in a number of different situations. Next is Palpad, and I'm not sure if I have a picture for Palpad or not. Let's see here. Do? Yes, I do. Yay! Palpad. Shuffle 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your hand. Useful if you're going after Marnie or Mallow and Lana. Anything other than that, and you'd basically pretty much be wasting your time. Wasted your time and the card. And the final trainer card in this deck is Quick Ball. Now this little beauty has been out forever and is getting a reprint in, you guessed it, Sword and Shield. And this is an outdated picture. I couldn't find an English one for the new reprint, so I'm sure the necessary erratas are not there. Errata meaning change to the text if you're new to the term. Reveal cards from your deck until you reveal a Pokemon. Show that Pokemon to your opponent and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other revealed cards back into your deck. If you don't reveal a Pokemon, shuffle all the revealed cards back into your deck. So, in early game, if you have Snom and Wooper on your field, along with either a Quagsire or a Frosmoth, you can use this card from your hand to search out that other, potentially search out that other one you need and add it to your hand. And then for the final 12 is pretty basic. It's just 12 basic water energy. Not really much to go on there. So anyway, in conclusion, this deck has seen a lot of play and is winning a lot of big time tournaments in Japan simply because, well, Japan gets spoiled with Pokemon. They get everything months before we in America do. So, yeah, for the English release, I want to officially rename this deck Whitewash. Simply because of the 2 Pokemon that star in it. Lapras VMAX and Frosmoth, which are both Ice-type Pokemon in the video games. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe and click the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any future videos. And for PokeScythe Games, I will see all of you in the next video. And so long for now.